This conversation is taking place at the DuPont Environmental Center in the Russell W. Peterson Wildlife Refuge.
We're at the DuPont Environmental Education Center talking with Delaware's Congressman John Carney. Welcome.
Good to be here, John.
The economy has been steadily improving, but not at a very rapid pace, and certainly for the president, this is not good news. Is there anything that Congress can do that would stimulate the economy across the board, not just in the public sector?
I mean, I think there
in the private sector.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are two big things that we can do. The first thing is we need, if the last job reports out said that 28,000 jobs were lost in construction, the most of the jobs that were lost in that last cycle. We could put people back to work in construction pretty quickly by passing a transportation bill, and I've been calling upon that for some time. The Senate has passed the bill, the House has passed the bill. They're different. The House encumbers its bill with political things like the Keystone Pipeline, with offshore drilling, those kinds of things, which frankly, really, you don't need that, something like that that's going to get in the way of passage and coming to a resolution with the Senate. We ought to make it longer term. Right now, the Senate bill's just a couple years, and House bill's not much longer than that, but you really need a 5 or 6 year bill so that engineering firms can plan, so that they can staff up, so you can get that work started from the engineering side all the way through to putting construction workers in the field doing the work. And look, we would be funding these projects with bond money. Well, it makes sense to borrow money. People complain about our debt, and we should. But it makes sense to borrow money to invest in tangible assets that have a useful life of 20, 30 years. And with interest rates so low, you're borrowing money almost for free. So it just makes sense to do. So that's the short-term thing that we can do. Long-term thing, we can show some signs that we can actually govern and do the business of the country, passing appropriations bills, passing our budgets, coming up with a 10-year fiscal plan, and then addressing the expiration of the tax cuts that we talked about a minute ago. That'll create certainty for business so they can make some decisions. Right now, they don't know what the tax code's going to look like. Individuals don't know what it's going to look like in terms of their investments and savings. And so that's really important to create some confidence across the spectrum with individuals and companies in our country.
Are you optimistic, pessimistic about that?
I'm always an optimist. If I wasn't, I should get into another business, I think. And the experience of the IPO bill and the legislation is smaller than these big kinds of deals, for sure. Was an indication that we can get it done if we do it in a common sense, balanced kind of way. Look, there was an effort in the IPO bill on the Republican side to just completely exempt companies under a certain size from a certain provision that they don't like. It's a 404B of Sarbanes-Oxley, okay? It's very technical, but it's something that could cost a company $3 million. Instead, we decided to phase that in as a company went public, grew, got better financials, and was able to afford something like that. More of a common sense balance approach. Bowles-Simpson, you mentioned in terms of a fiscal plan, same kind of thing. Balanced, fair, and something that both sides of the aisle can support.
What happened with that? There was a big long article in the New York Times about, who killed that. I mean, the president seemed not to have the will to do it, and nor did the leadership in the Congress.
Yeah, I think I don't know all the details there, but it seems to me that neither side, neither Speaker Boehner, who's the leader of the Republicans in the Congress, obviously a majority in the House, nor the president could sell their respective parties and interest groups their part of the deal, right? It really comes down pretty simply to two things. The Republicans' unwillingness to raise new revenue or new taxes, and the Democrats' hesitancy on restructuring entitlement programs, Social Security and Medicare. I mean, when you analyze it, if you take a step back, you take the politics out of it, you look at our fiscal imbalance, particularly going forward, the big issue is really healthcare cost inflation. It's doubled over the last 10 years. Premiums have gone up 2.5 times because of the shift that businesses are making to having their employees pick up that extra burden. You have the aging population that are going to retiring at 65 and going on Medicare, the cost is just going to go through the roof. And we just do not have that funded, that liability.
But you don't seem to be able, one doesn't seem to be able to have the conversation around, for example, the costliest part of healthcare these days is end-of-life decisions.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean,
not only do they not want to talk about it, but for good reason. In the last election, we heard about death panels and all the rest of it. But the reality is, if we're going to get our arms around those costs, we're going to have to start talking about that. And I was talking to a guy who's the president of a bank from Canada, and he was talking about the system that they have, and they put those kinds of decisions in the hands of the medical professionals. And I think we have to move to something like that. What it might look like is hard to tell, but we have to really confront costs at every stage and every level. Think about today, we're here at the Peterson Wildlife Refuge, and as I was walking up, I saw the little sign from the Nemours Health and Prevention Program where they're trying to get kids to be more active. You know, I saw yesterday that obese and overweight kids has like doubled since I was a kid. Doubled.
Yeah,
The cost of that in terms of diabetes and other health conditions is mind-boggling when you think about it, and we've got to address that side of it as well.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
You're connected with Content Delaware.